Today we're going to make a cocktail where before the recording started, we had no idea what we were going to do. We took a structure, we created a balance based on theory and Fernet, and we came out with a cocktail for you guys to drink. Stay tuned. Welcome to Comment Cocktails. I am your host, Eric Schober. That's Ian Andrews, and we are going to do a cocktail episode on balance. This was requested by Stephanie, who said, what is balance, and how do you make balance?
There's a traditional formula for balance, and that's what we're going to try to follow here today.
Oh, hold on. Producer is Christopher Fry Moland. Or Moland. I don't know if it's fries, but Free?
Christopher Free Moland. Sounds French to me. I don't know.
I like it. I like it. New Patreon person.
Well, thank you.
Almost the whole week is new people, all from this week.
That's awesome.
So what Stephanie said, and we'll kind of cover this. First off, the basics. There's different ways of balancing a cocktail. We're going to use the 2-on-1 method, and that's the way I think you guys should start out. The 2-on-1 method is 2 parts alcohol, 1 part sweet, 1 part sour. Yeah. Pretty easy.
So what we're doing is we're doing 2 parts of the Hamilton 86, which is a Demerara rum. We're doing 1 part sweet, we're using orgeat, and we're using 1 part sour, which is lime. But what we're also doing...
This is where things get interesting.
This is where things get interesting. We're adding a bittering component of Fernet-Branca.
Right.
And to counter the bittering a little bit, we're adding a little bit of salt.
So that's going to probably bring out some eucalyptus, maybe.
Yeah, they'll dull the bittering a little bit, at the same time letting the flavor of the Fernet play a little bit.
So as part of the balance, as you're going through this, we just pull all this crap together, and this is what we're going to make. This is how I typically start making a cocktail. You experiment. You come up with something. This could be the worst thing that ever has happened.
Yeah,
we don't know.
have no idea.
But it should be balanced. It just might not be good.
Yeah.
The trick with lemon versus lime, what I've heard, if you've got our newsletter, you've probably heard this already if you read it. And I created our newsletter this week around balance so that I would have more to talk about in this episode. Lime.
What are you preparing?
I know! Lime is typically used for a brown spirit, and lemon is typically used for a clear spirit. So if you're thinking vodka, you're thinking maybe some gin. Gin could also go in this direction, by the way.
Yeah, gin's a border thing for me because I like to use lime in my gin.
So lime for rum, lime for vodkas, lemons for your bourbons, lemons for your scotches, like a Drambuie. I like it in a gin, like a gin Collins or anything like that. The trick behind this is it starts with acidity. So the most basic common cocktail style is to say balanced sweet on sour. So when we say a balanced cocktail, the concept is it should have some nice acidic structure to it, but it should also have some nice floral aroma that could be either through a bittering agent, an Amaro, a Fernet, a cocktail bitter. All my bitters are gone.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's what you guys should have did is buys you.
No, I want them to pay for that. You could use like a Dillon's Wormwood bitter, which would give you more of the black licorice flavor versus a Fernet, which is going to be more a eucalyptus bittering agent. The 2-on-1 gets thrown off a little bit in some cocktails when you do stuff like this because you're bringing in this liqueur. If you were to use, let's pick a liqueur on the fly, Cassis. Cassis is sweeter, right? So, in the case of the sweet, I got a Gmail message from my new episode. In the case of this might count as a sweet, a little bit of a sweet. So you're going to end up probably maybe tapering off a little bit on the almond to keep the 2-on-1 balance. The real trick, and this is where taste kind of comes in, unless you have a Brix meter and all that, is different sweets have different things in them. This has a little bit of oiliness, so the sweet might not be as pronounced. If you use an agave nectar, I believe an agave nectar is a sharp front sweet up front, and it tails off really quickly. It's got a spiking sugar, and then it goes away. A honey, I think, has more of a through-and-through sweetness, but it's less. That has a longer finish. Sugar, I think, is the easiest to work with. Did you add the salt in there?
I did add the salt in there.
And then the salt, like you said, brings out a little of the... I don't know what that is there. Brings out a little bit of the other flavors within a bittering agent by suppressing some of the bitter.
You want to get rid of the cutting board?
Yeah, I do.
So the...
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no problem.
The cocktail doesn't necessarily have the best of color. You could also fix a little of that using an egg white. Mm-hmm. You could also use
turn
pineapple
it into
juice,
a flip. But
yeah, that's
pineapple juice is really making a tiki cocktail almost.
Once you go to pineapple juice is a sweet. So now you have to consider your orgeat. Maybe it's a half ounce of orgeat, half ounce of pineapple juice. Pineapple juice might be sweeter than orgeat. Maybe you need a little bit of additional pineapple juice, a little bit of different ratios of pineapple to orgeat. The goal is that your this is the product that makes the difference. Yeah. Alcohol. Without the alcohol, there's no cocktail.
No cocktail.
You need to have alcohol. That's
yeah, and bitters can count as the Angostura,
Chicago South Side, the Angostura,
Angostura sour, which is the
South Side
cocktail.
Which one has a lot of Angostura in it?
The Angostura sour.
It has gin.
Trinidad sour, is that what you're thinking of?
Maybe.
So, yeah, the Trinidad sour versus the Trinidad rum punch.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. The Trinidad sour has an ounce of Angostura, and that's the core spirit.
Yeah.
So it's a bittering offset by orgeat, but
Right.
it also has the lemon juice in there, and it's bolstered slightly by a whiskey.
Now, back in the day, if you look at a lot of the ancient classic cocktails, 50 years plus, there was no real use of a citric acid. They used the bitter, so it was sugar, bitters, alcohol, and a liqueur.
And bitters would keep more than the citrus because it's an alcohol base.
Right, but bitters also increase and enhance the alcohol itself. So there's a 2-on-1 wouldn't work. You wouldn't do 2. You wouldn't do 2 ounces of rum, an ounce of bitters, and then an ounce of sweet. It doesn't really bitter doesn't counter sweet like sour counters sweet.
Yeah,
so it's a different.
Yeah, sweet and sour, those are scale things.
It's a different ratio.
Bitter and salt, I guess, are counters for it, but it's not a 1-to-1.
Right. It's, you really only need a dash of salt to make a difference. You don't go like this.
And if you've read Liquid Intelligence, Dave Arnold suggests putting a little dash of salt in almost every drink you do. It's going to smooth things out a little bit.
So I think this is going to be more. He's looking at me waiting.
Yeah, I didn't know because.
I think this is going to have a little bit of a tiki quality to it because it has the almond syrup, and that kind of comes in as something that would be tiki.
That eucalyptus kind of trails at the end a little bit,
but
it reminds me of a zombie finish. But it's balanced, right?
But it's balanced. Like,
it's balanced really great.
We didn't know upfront homework.
No,
nothing.
If you watched the live stream, you literally just saw us like pick a bunch of bottles that we thought would go together. Mm-hmm. He was questioning the Fernet, but
how much Fernet did you put in there?
I did a quarter ounce.
Quarter ounce. I think a half ounce probably would have been
too much.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I like that.
Dude, I was afraid. I was questioning the use of Fernet.
We're calling this the common sour.
The common sour. Okay, we'll call it.
The common man sour.
Common man sour.
Yeah, I just made that up.
I think Curtis would love this drink.
He
likes the almond.
Yeah.
He likes the tiki. He loves Fernet.
We gotta hit Curtis up and let him know we did this.
Yeah, I mean the drink is a balanced cocktail, and when I say kind of when I use the word balance when we're making anybody else's drinks, it's not just about 2-on-1 because I'm not always paying attention to the ratio. But when you taste it, you don't get that sweet
it's not too
sickly,
sweet. It's not too acidic. It's not too
acidic
strong.
where you're going, oh my god!
Yeah.
It has to fit in between so that you can taste the other flavors, right?
It's not too weak either.
No.
So strong and weak. So your water, your dilution is countering your strong, right? So the fact that we shook this with ice, it's somewhat diluting it, which is so the water is balancing the strong. So weak and strong, sweet and sour,
right?
Bitter, salt,
and you got the bitter agent in here, which there is a little bit of bitter that lingers, but what's happening?
I don't.
He's reading.
I'm reading something.
But the thing that you don't get a whole ton of is you get sweet, but you're not getting almond. Like you're not getting a big blast of orgeat. I wouldn't know that there's almond in there if I was in.
It's that tiki taste.
It tastes tiki, but my first reaction isn't, oh, it's got orgeat. If you said, oh, I used orgeat, I would have been, oh, yeah, that makes sense because it's got the tiki.
But you might not get that off it.
But the eucalyptus kind of like that just kind of settles on your tongue, and kind of it sits there, and you just get this kind of cold.
It's not bad, right?
It's like a medicinal tiki. It's like something for the winter.
The Fernet plays in this cocktail like Pernod plays in a zombie.
Right. And so instead of black licorice, you get eucalyptus.
Yeah.
You could have maybe, instead of using Fernet, used fig.
I don't know if that would play enough.
It's too
because
sweet.
It's not too strong a flavor.
No, you would throw it off.
You could have used a
Yeah, you could have used a Verna. You probably get a little bit more of a coffee flavor.
I would stay away from the Campari myself for this cocktail.
For this cocktail, it may work. I don't know.
Maybe some Ball Geneva.
It would look ugly. But when you're building them, you'd have to look at the different ingredients you have an option. You go, okay, well, this is a liqueur that's sweet versus bitter. There's only so many bitters. You've got Jaeger, you've got Fernet, you've got Amaros, like a Verna.
Yep. You got Campari. You got.
You can maybe pull off absinthe as a bitter sort of.
Well, no, it kind of works sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a.
Because wormwood is a bitter.
If you're drawing, it's like a contrast.
That's a bitter.
A contrast flavor.
Right.
to add something to a different cocktail. Like you have contrast walls in your house. Like you have one wall that's painted different than all the other walls in the room.
Yeah,
That's
like that one
what this
accent
does.
wall.
It's an accent flavor.
Right. If you don't add the Fernet into this drink, all we did was we created an almond
sour.
rum sour. It would have been like a daiquiri that you said, I don't want to use demerara or regular sugar, I want to use almond syrup. It works, and it could be cool, but at the same time, adding that accent flavor, whatever it happens to be, creates the balance, but it also gives you a new, exciting dimension to take.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get two.
Well, that's where I wanted to go. I saw the bitter. I'm like, we got to keep it more than just a sour. So
Yeah, otherwise we would just create a daiquiri. A daiquiri is basically your 2-in-1. And
with rum, lime, and simple syrup.
Right.
That's your basic daiquiri.
Right. So we did the same thing. So whenever you hear us talk about balance, think of it as how do you make a cocktail that isn't sweet nor sour, but has sour notes, has some sweet notes, and has some other accent flavor around it. So when you're making a cocktail at home and you want to invent something, you want to create something for the show, or you want to submit it. People just go, oh, I'm just going to do this, or I got drunk one night, this is really awesome.
Or you try it.
Or you can
and you
make
try to work it out.
a drink, and it doesn't have to be intimidating. Just stick with 2-in-1. There's other ratios you can go with. There's some that are 4 something something, 4-2-1. There's there's
the 80
punch
style
recipe.
drink that's all sweet.
That's
like
like
the 4-3-2-1.
Yeah, there's 4-3-2-1 for
Yeah.
punch. There's different ratios.
That takes into account the strong and the weak.
Right,
So,
you got to have a lot more water.
so you have
you're
like,
making a
I
large
can't
volume.
remember if it's 4 strong, 3 weak.
4 weak, 4 weak, 3
3
strong, 2 sour, 1 sweet,
Something like
that.
that.
I don't remember how that goes, but there are different ratios you can play on. So look at what you tend to drink. See what the ratios tend to be, because they're probably going to either be 2-on-1 or 4-2-1 or some ratio. That is a
Or something
ratio.
comparable anyway.
Right, and that you can use. Or what you do is you want to make your own drink. Look at a drink that exists, a pisco sour, and say, what if I got rid of the pisco and I replaced it with a rum, and instead of this sour agent, I'm going to use a lime. I think pisco might use lemon. I'm not.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And replace that with lime. You end up with a daiquiri really fast, right? Or some sort of weird Mai Tai concoction if you keep throwing other shit in there.
Or you pick a bunch of your liquors that you like. You think they're all going to go well in a drink. You start with your 2-1-1, and then you start playing with the ratios a little bit.
Right.
Because there's always some room for improvement. I mean, 2-1-1 isn't perfect, but it's a good starting point.
Right. And then once you have something that if you find out it's kind of disjointed flavor, you're like, I really like this, but it just doesn't have the connection. It seems maybe there's a lot of almond up front, and then you have this eucalyptus in the back, and it just doesn't seem to flow really well on your palate. That's when you bring in a little bitter, and then it helps to connect those flavors together and tie them a little bit, so you end up with a more natural flow to what you're drinking. You want to tell a story. You don't want to just be like punch you in the face, kick you in the nuts. You need a little bit more.
This isn't college kids.
No, not a college kids show.
It's welcome for college kids.
Yeah, you can watch it if you want to learn some shit.
Yeah.
I guess. So that's your 2-on-1. Now when you see and you look at some of the recipes I've created, they tend to follow this science. And I start 2-on-1, and then I branch out like Ian did. He's like, hey, let's do some Fernet. And I'm like, whoa! And he's like, no, this would be awesome. We could have instead of using orgeat, we could have used a maple liqueur. And then use a bourbon.
Maybe we change the ratios a little bit because the maple liqueur has a little bit of alcohol in it. So maybe we cut back on the acid. We don't use a full 2 ounces of rum.
Right. You do 3/4, 1 half ounce or a 1/4 ounce. Then you bring in another flavor. Then maybe a dash of bitters, or maybe you keep the Fernet in there and see what it tastes. Or you go, what else goes good with maple? You're pairing and go maple and coffee.
Bacon.
I love bacon.
You have bacon vodka somewhere, yeah.
Maybe Kahlua. Or maybe there is some need for molasses in there. You can still, as long as you know I have a structure. From there, you can start to really mess around, throw it out, try it again, and go, I want something with maple in it.
Yeah.
And then take the road of 2-on-1 and work on that. Otherwise, if you just go 3 ingredients and you're just measuring stuff out, tasting it, now it doesn't taste good. Measure, taste it. Yeah. Eventually, when you finally go, hey, an hour later, that tastes pretty good. Guess what? It's fucking 2-on-1. Yeah. That's where you're going to end up anyway.
You can save yourself a lot of time when you obviously have to taste stuff when we're trying it.
We
develop a taste for your sweet, your sour, and your strong.
Oh yeah, we did that all. We've done that for years.
For years. If you're mixing something up and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that lemon comes through too much. up the sugar, down the lemon.
Right.
Try
or
it
up
again.
the alcohol.
Or up the, well, that doesn't balance. The
No,
lemon.
but sometimes we found things that, if you have a little less alcohol, things just taste a little weird.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of
that's
things
the
that
strong,
have occurred.
the strong weak balance.
Yeah, and it's like where he's like, oh no, you just need more alcohol in here, and you're like, this drink doesn't taste good. Why would you add more alcohol? And it fixes it. It just does. It's weird the way ratios work. So that, my friends, is how you make a balanced cocktail. So you can go make a balanced cocktail. You now understand what we mean when we say, hey, that's a balanced cocktail that we just drank there.
Yeah.
We made that up on the fly, and it works. It's pretty damn tasty.
I think it is.
I kind of like the eucalyptus.
See?
I don't know about in the summertime.
Try different stuff. What's great is I love getting like a unique flavor in something.
Yeah, otherwise it's just boring. It's
Yeah.
just probably been done.
It's probably been done.
But this, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
If it has another name, fuck those people.
Yeah.
So question of the day.
It's common man sour.
What is your favorite something?
What's your favorite unique alcohol? We've done this before, like your favorite like accent alcohol.
What's your
Oh, you know what I haven't mentioned? You can
all
get
the
these
other
Nick
stuff?
and Nora glasses at awesomedrinks.com.
you can get those there.
As well as your Orgeat from BG Reynolds if you want.
You can get
different
those
label
there.
now, I believe.
Yeah, mine's old.
Good stuff.
Really old.
One of my favorite drinks requires Orgeat, which means I have to pick some up. Don't let me forget to get some before I leave tonight.
That's a problem. I don't remember a lot of stuff.
Are you all out?
I plan. It's just a problem for my brain.
The Angostura Sour, which I'm a big fan of. Like I talked
He's
about.
got-
The Trinidad Sour.
We sell these in 750 milliliter, and I looked at it and went, who the hell would ever need that much orgeat?
I went through one pretty quick, I think.
I've had this since like a year ago,
Yeah.
and it's still not bad. I'm waiting.
It
I
lasts.
understand. So you can use CMC16, save yourself 15% off until like February 5th.
Yes.
I still haven't done that.
You can also go to patreon.com/CMC and donate to the show, or everydaydrinkers.com/donate.
And since we want to take, or I want to take this as a full-time endeavor, anybody who wants to subscribe on Patreon is going to help us in the end, because I need a buffer. I need some runway.
And
to build up
you were
those.
talking about previews for Patreons.
Yes.
Yes.
So tomorrow, well, this is recording, so tomorrow was like last week.
Tomorrow, our time.
Yeah, we will be filming, not live, because we're going to do this all in a closed, non-filmed, non-live type thing.
Yeah.
A series of cocktails that's going to go through and explain rum in more, not rum,
Vodka.
vodka in more detail. We'll get to rum within the end of the year by then, I think. So there'll be a different series. The first one will be rum, then we're going to do gin, yes. Then we'll do probably rum after that.
Rum,
so
whiskey, tequila.
there's going to be a buttload of episodes. If you're a Patreon subscriber, what I'm going to do is I have to take and kind of rough cut up whatever we do tomorrow to show Ian what it would look like as a final release, so that he kind of has an idea of when we're sitting down recording these episodes, what the end goal would look like. What I want to do is I want to be able to share that with him, but I can also share it with other people like Patreon subscribers.
Yes. And it's going to be a much more edited cut. It's going to be
Oh, yeah.
to the point, not as much banter.
It's organized,
A lot of information.
educational.
Hopefully.
So if you want to see some of that stuff before it comes out and before you are even given the access to buy it, then you can become a Patreon subscriber. If you subscribe and you've made yourself to $50, we're also going to make you a cocktail this year. Probably in the 2-on-1. Just saying.
Oh,
so
if I knew that, I would have saved this.
we could have just made a
morsel for someone
cocktail
else.
for somebody.
Jesus.
That'll be that's our next challenge. So we are done. Think of all that stuff I just said. Digest all that in your brain cells. It's time to go.
Try it out on your own.
On your own, because we're done and we're teaching you how to drink. I like the pulpiness of a cocktail. You'll also probably find, depending on where you get your oranges, it's going to be a little bit fresher taste to it, like almost like you just squeeze an orange in your face.
I could drink a lot of that.
And if you don't have to look at the labels.